I am Sarajane Case, and this is Enneagram and Coffee. Hello, happy Monday, and welcome back to the podcast. I hope your weekend treated you well. Today we are going to dive into the myth of balance, but first, today's rosebud and thorn. So my rose, the thing that's making me happiest right now is that the trees outside this morning were like icy and drizzling, like it was drizzling rain. And when you look out the window, it looks unreal. It's sparkling like a Twilight vampire in the sun. Like it is so pretty. Obi and I just kind of stared at it for a minute in awe. It was just absolutely gorgeous. My bud, the thing I'm looking forward to is afternoon coffee. I don't know about you, but I'm on like a 2 coffee a day regimen. Like I have my coffee in the morning with my breakfast. And then after lunch, usually around that 1 o'clock hour, I'll have an afternoon coffee. And I think that one's my favorite and I cannot wait to enjoy it. And my thorn is I've just been making a lot of decisions lately. Like there's just so many little moving parts and things that are shifting and considering different avenues we could go down as a company. And I just want to be on autopilot a little bit. Like I kind of am really craving just, floating through. These are the days where I think if I just woke up and went into a job, did my job and went home, that would be kind of nice. But the truth is that's never worked for me. So wherever I go, there I'll be. There are always decisions to be made. And, but right now there's just a lot going on over here in terms of decisions that are going down. All right, let's dive into this conversation about balance. So this is probably the word I hear the most when I get curious about what people are craving and what they're going through. Often it's balance, right? I just want balance. I'd feel good if I just could find the right balance. Or even just things like I could be more balanced. Yes, I'm happy, but I could be more balanced. And I hear this even more frequently when we're talking with folks who have children, right? Like, I want to find that perfect balance where I can be there for my children and I can take care of myself. I can be there for my spouse and do the work that I need to do in my life. Yet, I'm pretty sure I have yet to hear the words, I'm living in a perfect state of balance, especially because I have children, right? If you've heard those words, I would love to know, but I imagine there's a chance that these are the words that have never been uttered. If there's a sentence that has never been said, I have achieved perfect balance between my self-care, my work, my children, and my spouse, maybe the words, right? It's just, especially not in earnest. If we're being truthful, I think it might just be a thing that doesn't exist. And most of us spend our life in this attempt to find balance, but find tension instead, right? This push-pull between two elements, work and play, self-care and sacrifice, restriction and pleasure. A dance between two things. Sometimes in attempts to find balance, we swing all the way to the other extreme, right? Maybe going from restriction to binging in hopes that it will bring us back to the center. And sometimes we land in the middle, but perhaps more often we just go back and forth between these two extremes. I want to propose that perfect balance doesn't exist. And for those of you that are familiar with my work with the Brave Collective, you may be thinking, but Sarajane, isn't your tagline helping people to find the perfect balance between self-care and productivity so they don't feel guilty for how they spend their time? Yes, it is. And that's because we're all in the search of an ideal version of balance. Yet, what I encourage my collective members to find is their version of balance right now. Meaning, we will never have a perfect 50-50 split between work and self-care or self-care and sacrifice. We will have seasons where work takes more of our time and seasons where family is a priority. Perfect balance is more about being intentional about your unique division of energy, knowing that you are the decider for where you spend your time and making sure that you stand behind that decision. I get it though, balance is appealing to all of us, right? It's appealing to those of us who are addicted to doing because it's a goal that will never be achieved, and therefore we can always feel like there's more to be done. It's also appealing to those of us who prefer not to take action because it's this really good excuse for us to not do. We can say, well, I'd love to do that. I just need to find a sense of balance first. It's also appealing to those of us who are wanting to know what's expected Balance is an expectation that we can feel we can live up to, so we keep on trying, right? If we find the perfect balance, then we know that all of the shoulds in our life have been covered. I should be good at self-care. I should be dedicated to my family. I should be a successful worker. And the daydream of balance offers hope that all of these elements would be covered at some point. Balance, although appealing as an idea, is in reality the exact thing we need to remain in a cycle of shame. An impossible standard that is constantly moving day to day and will never be achieved and has never been achieved. Grasping for the illusion of balance is fertilizer for our shame. Life is always moving, ever changing, and we are not the same day to day. Those of you who experience a menstrual cycle know this better than anyone. Who I am in my ovulatory phase is completely different in energy versus the day before my cycle starts, right? What I'm able to achieve in a day drops dramatically. And you don't have to have a cycle to relate to this concept. You just have to have a beating heart, meaning you are not a machine, you are human. Some days your children need more attention. Some days you are finding it hard to get through emotionally. And other days your energy is up and you have the ability to knock out work at a record pace. It's unpredictable, it's uncontrollable, and it's completely okay. Day to day, we won't find balance. We will find opportunity to listen and adjust accordingly. So today, in this episode, my goal is really just to convince you to release the unrealistic expectation that you find perfect balance. But tomorrow we will dive into what we can do instead. I'm excited, so join me back here tomorrow for part 2 of this conversation. But today's food for thought is from Stephen Covey, and the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. Thank you all for joining me for today's conversation. As always, it's such a joy to create this content for you. And if you have 30 seconds to leave a rating and review in iTunes, that would mean the world to me. I'll see you tomorrow for the next episode.